Welcome to Ogles channel. Thanks for watching today. Let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. And then we're going to focus on the game based upon a movie from the late 90s, I believe, called The Mummy. Now, I've never seen like the entire movie. I've seen like bits and pieces of it, over the years when it came on TV, things like that. And I think I saw more of the one that was like the sequel. The one had like The Rock in it. It was like a mutant scorpion or something. And so I don't believe it was in this game at all because... well, dadgum. Because there's not like a giant scorpion or a scorpion monster or anything like that throughout this entire experience. And truth be told, this game caught me like by complete surprise because for some reason I envisioned this as being like an action adventure, probably 2D platforming game. And it is not at all what this game is. This game is like a pure puzzle game, like almost through and through the entire experience. Yes, there's a little action here and there. Yes, you do have a punch button or like a gun you can use on occasion depending on your character. But man, it's like puzzle game. And it's a pretty tough puzzle game as we go as well. Now, this particular video did get moved up in the queue quite a bit because Villain Killin' Dylan, quite the rhyming name there, requested on one of my former videos to cover The Mummy. So naturally, here we are covering The Mummy today. If there's a game that you would like to see me cover sooner than later, let me know in the comments down below and I'll get to that game as fast as I can. But let's get started on The Mummy. Now, I always like to start the videos off by looking at the box art for the game first. And the box art for The Mummy is pretty much identical to the movie poster because it's got the mummy in the background, the pyramids, the desert aesthetic, and it even says The Mummy in the exact same font as the movie. And so I think everyone who bought this game had seen the movie and just simply wanted a movie tie-in. And honestly, if you're just simply looking at the plot of the game, this game does align with the movie extraordinarily well because, I mean, the story is just so detailed as you go throughout this game. But gameplay-wise, I think that's where it's going to fall away from the movie. At least my knowledge of the movie, just a little bit as we go. But let's get started. When you load the game up here, you got a pretty good little tile screen. You got some ominous music coming in the background. You got the Mummy logo beginning to fade in. You got sort of an Egyptian border around the outside beginning to fade in as well. And when you actually start the game, it has a little splash of light behind the Mummy logo. I mean, it's a good tile screen. But then when you start the game, you immediately jump into the story. And I've watched the intro to the movie again just sort of see how well it lined up. And it lines up really well here as far as like taking almost like direct screenshots from the movie. Obviously, downgrading them quite a bit to fit them on the Game Boy, and some of them are going to look a little funny as we go throughout this review, and I'll try to highlight some of those as we go. But they do overload you with text here trying to explain the story of the movie inside this game. Like literally it goes through chapter 1, which is all text and all screenshots, and you think you're getting ready to play the game? No, gotta keep waiting. Chapter 2, all screenshots, all text, and then finally when chapter 3 rolls around, you're actually able to play the game. However, between every chapter, you're still going to get some screenshots and more text from the movie to sort of keep that plot line going. And like I said, I rewatched the first part of the movie to sort of see how it lined up, and it lined up almost perfectly. So I think throughout the entire game here, the text probably lines up with the movie very, very well. But we're in the third chapter here, stage 1 of that, and we're getting ready to play as Evelyn, and our goal here is simply to collect one book in order to clear the stage. And every time you get ready to start a different stage, it tells you what your mission is, who you're getting ready to play as throughout that particular level. Now, in this first stage, we're playing as Evelyn, like I said, and I couldn't help but like notice the character of Evelyn. I was like, you know what? I need to see what the movie counterpart for Evelyn looked like. How well does it line up? And so I loaded Evelyn up, and I have to say, Evelyn looked way more badass in the movie than she does here. Here, they really sort of, I guess, tried to make her look more like a classic 1920s girl, I guess. The pink long dress. Where in the movie, obviously, she dressed much more adventurous, much more like she belonged exploring the Egyptian tombs, sort of like a 1920s Tomb Raider to a degree. And so I think they probably went with this particular outfit for Evelyn just simply because it stood out from the background more. And a lot of these backgrounds are going to get very, very brown. And if they went with the adventure suit of Evelyn, it would have blurred into the background too much. And sort of like how Nintendo gave Link pink hair in A Link to the Past, help him stand out from the background a little bit, and I have an entire video dedicated to that particular topic, and I'll put a little link to that video up above me right here. But regardless, I think her outfit's pretty much designed just to stand out from the background of the stages. However, as you're journeying through these stages, you pretty much have really no attack as Evelyn. You can dash, which you can see here is a little dash move back and forth, and Evelyn has a long jump, sort of like Princess Peach in Mario 2, and that's sort of her special power. You won't play as Evelyn throughout the entire game. You'll sort of swap characters back and forth, but in the first stage here, you're only playing as Evelyn. She has no attack. She can pick up little stones and throw those stones if need be, but there's not going to be a lot of enemies throughout the first several levels here. But more or less, you're just simply traveling the stage using the tools that you have, whether it be a tome to unlock some doors, a torch to see inside some dark areas, and you simply travel the stage here searching for this book. Now, I make it sound way more simple than it really is because, truth be told, there's like 50-something levels inside this game, and each one's going to get progressively harder and harder with more items to find, more things to do to unlock the areas to find these particular items, and a lot of levels are going to soft lock you. And what I mean by that is you're going to get stuck in the area and you're not going to be able to advance until you restart the level because you messed up some form or fashion one of the puzzles, you used one of the resources when you shouldn't have, you fell down to an area you can't get out of, and so you're going to get soft locked a heck of a lot inside this game. Even in level 1 here, I bet I spent like probably 10-15 minutes on level 1-1. I'm sorry, level 3-1, because level 1 and level 2 were all just simply text from the movie. But in 3-1 here, like I said, it took me a good while to actually work through the level and just simply figure out where to go with these tools that were given to me to find the book. Now, as you're looking at the map here, the map is going to be extraordinarily helpful throughout the entire game. And I don't think you could actually do this game without referring to your map fairly often. And some of the levels are going to get really big on the map here. But what's unique about the map is anytime you drop down the bottom of the map, where like a little hole in the bottom of the screen, you then reappear at the top of the map. So it's a looping map. Or if you go off the right side of the map, you're going to loop back around to the left side of the map and vice versa. And this actually adds like extra elements to a lot of the puzzles. So like the levels are never ending to some degree if you simply go left to right or up and down. And I think the game would be easier if it was just simply like a massive box and you couldn't escape the borders of that. But by making it continually loop on each side, it does allow an extra aspect to the puzzle, but I can't say it makes all the puzzles any more fun as you're going. But regardless, you go ahead and finish up, get the book in level 1-1, and you also rescue Jonathan in 1-1, which means in the next level, you're going to get to play as Jonathan. And your goal in this level is going to be to find 8 money bags, or at least what the symbol looks like, money bags here. And so when I loaded up here, obviously I see Jonathan in his little green outfit, and I'm like, you know what, we did it with Evelyn, let's load Jonathan up from the movie and see how well he corresponds to his character. And honestly, when I load up Jonathan, like I could see almost identical to what I felt like Jonathan should look like in an 8-bit game here. Even down to like sort of the wacky, lanky, jumping movements here. I mean, it just looked like what I envisioned this character would be doing in the movie. And so, at least from an outsider's perspective of not being like really well versed in the movie, I feel like Jonathan is very well represented here. Now, Jonathan doesn't have as good of a jump ability as Evelyn when you're playing as him, but he actually does have an attack. He can punch. He doesn't have to pick up like little stones. Throw the stones, and he can also pick up dynamite, and you can use this dynamite to blow up different walls inside the level. However, if you pick up dynamite and you end up wasting the dynamite and you blow up like the wrong wall in particular, like once again, you're soft locked in that level until you restart it, pick up the dynamite again to blow up the correct wall. And there are going to be so many times throughout the game where I end up blowing up the wrong wall, have to restart the level and just simply in order to progress in the right direction. But regardless, as I'm going through here, I blow up the correct walls, end up finding all 8 of the money bags, and I also rescue our next team member, which is going to be Rick, which means I'm going to get to play as Rick in the next level as well. And when it loads up here, your goal is to find 4 stone tablets on a ship that is sailing down the Nile River. And it's a good little change of pace as far as like change of scenery a little bit, but we also get our first main look at Rick and how he's going to act inside the game. And naturally, if I did it for the other characters, let's load Rick up here and compare Rick. And you can see here, Rick is played by Brendan Fraser, and I can see this one being somewhat close in the character because his pants look sort of like explorer pants. He's got sort of the suspenders that Rick has. He's also got the gun here, just like Rick had in the movie. And I think this is a fairly good representation of Rick inside the video game. And of course, Rick's going to be the slowest of all the characters. I mean, he moves at like a snail's pace here, but he's also the strongest. He's the only one that can actually like push objects or push people off the screen and things like that. He also has a gun in the game. You can actually shoot for a short distance with that to take out some of the enemies on the screen. And then also you can get a rifle, and the rifle is going to have more of a longer distance to like shoot different targets or different little obstacles that you have to hit to unlock different puzzles in order to get some of the tablets or whichever item you're supposed to collect inside that particular level. He can also use that longer range gun to attack enemies, but it doesn't seem to be any more powerful than his standard gun. It just simply covers more distance. And also you have a very, very limited amount of ammunition for the rifle, and so you're going to want to save that for when you actually have to use it for puzzles and buttons and things like that. And so after I found all the tablets on the ship here, I'm getting ready to find the exit to the level, and I have to do this little platform of jumping over the little ledges here. And this is really where I realized like Rick's jump is like so terrible, because you collect all these items, it takes you like 5 or 6 minutes, get down here, try to make one small little jump, and it's such a horrible jump. I end up falling over this one little square here, falling in the water. You have to redo the entire level over, and so it's going to get really annoying throughout the game anytime you have to do any platforming with Rick, because like he just simply can't jump at all, and you have to time him like nearly perfect in order to make your jumps. And so that's going to be somewhat of a hardship as we go, but anytime you can play as all the characters, you can rotate out of Rick for a jump, by all means always do that. But anyway, in the ship level, we finally make over all the jumps here, head out the level, and of course we didn't rescue anybody new in this level. However, we did unlock the ability to play as all of these 3 characters inside of one level. And you can just simply press the start button and you can rotate between your 3 characters. And since each character has a distinct ability, that's going to come into play like which character you need to use to solve which puzzles. And like I said, Evelyn can pick up the tomes, has the best jump. Jonathan can pick up the dynamite, can blow up different areas, can actually attack. And Rick's going to be your strong one who can actually push objects and shoot different platforms from far away. And so you're going to have to rotate between these 3 in almost every level from here on out. But we are in level 5-1 now, and our goal in this level is going to be to collect 4 or 5 camels or camel little tokens in order to open the door to escape from the level. And one thing that happens in this level that starts to get really annoying is if you lose one character, you can't revive that character, and so some of the puzzles are deemed completely unbeatable with that character out of the way. And you can't just simply easily restart the levels. You have a password system, so every time you beat a level, you get a password. And the only way to restart the level is either just simply to kill off all your characters, which in some cases is like impossible if you're just simply stuck in a small area, or you just simply turn the system off, turn it back on, and enter into that password. And that is a very cumbersome feature because like every puzzle game before this game and after this game always has the option of just like go into your start menu and then just simply click restart level and you start the level back over. It's so much faster. We have to turn the system off, make sure you wrote down the password, enter in the password. You waste so much time just trying to get back into the level. And that's really a flaw in the, I guess, mechanics of the game. And I think if the game were ever re-released or anything like that, they would certainly update that feature because it is very outdated for its time, and it was outdated even when this game came out. But Chapter 5 was very, very short. It was only 1 level in Chapter 5. You move on to Chapter 6. You're playing as all the characters again. Your goal is to collect 4 shovels inside this level. And once again, it just seems so random, like what you're collecting. But you're collecting 4 shovels. But it was in this level I discovered one really, I guess, funny feature inside the game. Is Rick, his ability is to push objects. And he also has to push people sometimes from one spot to another. And the people don't like react at all as Rick is just simply pushing them across the screen or even just like pushing them in a hole so they simply go straight down to a screen below that. Person just still stands there like nothing's happened. And I just can't imagine like what this would look like in real life or in the actual Mummy movie. Rick just walks up and just sort of pushes somebody and nothing happens. I don't know. I had a good time with it. I just think it's a funny little animation inside the game. But the rest of Chapter 6 keeps up with the same type of puzzle mechanics, rotating between your main characters, blowing up the walls, unlocking areas, shooting doors open, shooting particular buttons, and just simply exploring these levels the best you can. And like I said, you're going to use the map pretty much non-stop in these levels in order to finally defeat them. And they're getting progressively harder and harder. I guess the only other new mechanic in level 6 or Chapter 6 was these little mirrors here, and Evelyn has to like hit the mirrors and they all like line up, and when you hit all of the mirrors, it like enlightens the area. And I'm sure that was like a reference to something in the movie, like they had to like, you know, line the mirrors just up from the sunlight in order to lighten up a room inside the tomb. I don't know, that's what I'm assuming anyway. But it's a fairly neat mechanic to try to keep the gameplay a little bit fresh, because this game can get stale pretty fast because you just simply try these levels over and over and over, and this allows it to be a little bit different. Now when you go into Chapter 4, there are 4 levels in Chapter 4, and each one's going to be the exact same puzzle mechanics here, you know, collect a variety of different items to unlock the door. But Chapter 7, like this level gets enormous. I mean, look at the map here. You have to explore all this area, collect all of these items, be able to backtrack to where you're supposed to, remember where the dynamite sticks are, remember where the buttons you're going to have to push open are, remember where all the particular doors are. This gets really, really overwhelming here because the map doesn't like actually show you like where the items are. I know it shows you where like the, you know, the collectibles are, like, you know, like the tablets and things like that, but like the dynamite sticks or, you know, the rocks or your tomes, none of that is shown on the map, and so it makes it even harder to like plan your path out. But you're still gonna have to use the map, and every single stage in level 7 keeps up with this very large map, very confusing map, and just takes you a very long time to do it. Level 7 is where the game like really began to up its difficulty, and you simply kept getting more and more opportunities to get soft locked, where you had to turn the game off, turn it back on, enter the password, and jump back into it. And level 7 is where I'm getting quite frustrated with the game. Up to this point, it's been a pretty fun puzzle game, but level 7 is it's pretty infuriating, and I think most players probably would stop around this spot in the game, unless you just simply love puzzle games. But at the end of level 7, you do raise the mummy from the dead, and I'm expecting like, all right, sweet, a boss battle, finally to break it up even more, you know, more than just simply the mirror puzzle earlier. And you raise the mummy from the dead, and you're expecting that boss battle, and nothing happens. You get some more text, you get some more still shots, and then you move on to level 8, which is yet again another puzzle level, and collecting more items, swapping between your characters. And so it was a little disappointing, because I mean, a boss battle could have been really cool inside this game, and it was sort of a letdown. Now, Chapter 8 and Chapter 9, I'm going to sort of combine these two together, because there's nothing new inside these levels except for maybe like a few enemies here and there, some different types of mummies, some that can like one-shot kill you, things like that. And so the mummies are going to vary a little bit, and some of your enemies are going to vary a little bit, but the puzzles, they're identical to all the other ones. Use your map, swap between your characters, and if I went through every puzzle in this review here, we'd be here for like 4 or 5 hours in this particular review, and it wouldn't be entertaining for you to watch, and it certainly wouldn't be entertaining for me to record. So we're going to sort of combine chapters 8 and 9 together as just simply more of the same of what's come earlier in the game, just some new enemies. And then chapter 10 rolls around, and we have the absolute worst level in the entire game here. In chapter 10, you have this massively tall tower type level. You can look on the map here. It's a very tall tower level, and your goal here is you have to find these little stones, and you have to take the stones almost pretty much from the top of the level all the way down to the bottom, and you have to blow up specific spots on the bridge to drop these stones through. And at any point in the level, if you blow up the wrong part of the bridge, you have to restart the level. If you drop the stone down from the wrong ledge, you have to restart the level. If you push the stone too far to the ledge and you can't push it back the other direction because of the mechanics in the game, you have to restart the level. And so, or if you simply miss a jump in the game and you mess up that way, you have to restart the level. And so this level here, you could literally be into it probably like 10 or 15 minutes into the level, make one small minor mistake, and you just have to restart the entire thing. And the only way to figure out which path you need to take is to do it by trial and error. And so you're almost certainly going to have to restart the level multiple times, because no one's going to guess right this many times in a row. And so the map, it's somewhat handy, but it's also somewhat useless, because you don't really know what obstacles are going to be in your way until you explore that particular square. The map could have been so much better than what it is, and I feel like really, if you want to like have a good map, you're going to have to simply sit down, draw out a map, list which items in which area. And I'm sure there's some awesome players guides out there for this game where people have like mapped out exactly which items are where. But unless you do that, man, these levels are going to take you a very long time, because it's all memorization of what you messed up last time, how to fix that on your next run after you've restarted. Now, it's also in Chapter 10. I said I'd point out some of the cool cutscenes here. You get this one here of the mummy rising from the dead, and I can't help but like think this looks like something out of like PS1 Resident Evil era. I don't know, at least it does to me anyway. And I think it's a pretty legit looking image. And so there's some that are going to be sort of cringe, sort of funny, but this one here, well, it's a pretty good little image of a toned down or watered down movie still. Now, Chapter 11 and Chapter 12 are going to be still mostly the same here as far as solving your puzzles, but you are going to get some teleporting mummies now who can teleport to you, hit you one time, kill you, cause you to restart the level because you lost that character. You get the little mummy dogs I talked about. You also get these little mummies that can hang from the ceilings. And so, I mean, they're still trying to add some new enemies in here. But for the most part, a lot of the enemies, like once you figured out like how to do the puzzle based upon either mapping it out or trial and error, you sort of just run through them. You don't really worry about your health too much, because you end up, if you try to attack them, you end up getting hit anyway because you're not attacking fast enough. And so you end up just sort of running through, finding the areas you need to go through. But at least they are trying to mix it up with different enemies, probably from the movie. Not really sure on that either, but they are trying to give you a variety for every single level. And just when I felt like the game had sort of offered everything it could offer as far as like what your mechanics of playing are, they actually give you a brand new character to play as in Chapter 12 as well. You get Ardith Bay, who's I presume is in the movie. Actually, I didn't do the comparison. Let's look up Ardith Bay here real quick too. All right, I can sort of see it. I mean, he's got somewhat of the outfit here. I mean, there's no Falcon or Hulk or anything inside the game. But as far as like the blue, you know, sort of more of a robe type outfit, definitely going to be there. He has a sword inside the game, and it appears in the another image. He has a sword. So once again, a pretty good characteristic of an 8-bit version of Ardith Bay here. But Ardith is essentially going to take the place of Evelyn. He's got a better jump here, but actually has the ability to attack. And so can't use the tomes or anything like that, but it actually has the same jumping ability. And so it's like a slight variation of the Evelyn character inside the game. And now we're going to do another little combo here of chapters 13, 14, and 15, because truth be told, it's more of the same. You do get some pretty cool little cutscenes here. I mean, look at this guy's face in the cutscene. I mean, it's pretty entertaining. You got an awesome cutscene here of Brendan Fraser. I think it's actually a really good cutscene inside the game. And then we have this other cutscene. It looks like it's straight out of like an 80s horror movie. And so, I mean, like the cutscenes, I mean, they're mostly pretty boring, but every now and then you get something pretty classic out of them. And of these particular chapters, that's going to be the biggest thing of note outside of just simply really difficult levels that take you a long time to finish, swapping back and forth between your characters. Now in chapter 16, we actually get some what I'm going to call leaping mummies here. And so you get these leaping mummies, and you also get these other mummies in chapter 16 that look like something like out of Skeleton Warriors. That was a show from the 90s, and I don't know if it's any inspiration behind this at all, but at least to me, I was like, man, this is an awesome looking mummy. He's got a little shield there. I don't know, he got a pretty cool little attack as well. I mean, this is a good mummy inside the game. This is actually probably my favorite enemy in the entire game, just because it looks like something directly out of that show that I've actually never watched. I just know the imagery and the toy line behind it, which always has such a cool imagery to it. But regardless, a good looking enemy. And chapter 16 also comes to a close here with this awesome looking cutscene of what I'd like to think of a low quality melting version of the thing from the Fantastic Four. At least to me. And then we move on to chapter 17. And the game has sort of had a peak as far as difficulty wise, as far as frustrating moments, as far as soft locks go, figuring out the mechanics. And when chapter 17 rolls around, this is a very easy level in the game. Every level only has one item to collect. Every level is fairly straightforward. One of them is you have to like escape from the tomb itself. And so like little walls are coming down. You simply have to get to the surface. Pretty darn easy. One level you simply go from left to right, hopping over all these little platforms. Also pretty easy, unless you fall in the hole at the very end. If you fall in the hole, you have to go for like a whole cave mechanism. But honestly, just turn the game off, turn it back on, put the password in, and then try to jump again, and you'll probably make it on the second try. And that's actually the end of the game. And so the game sort of has a curve here. It starts off with medium puzzles, and then it peaks of like super hard puzzles, huge levels, and then it evens off at the end of the game with the easiest levels in the entire game. And honestly, if the entire game had been like chapter 17, I would have really enjoyed it. I mean, these puzzles, like, to me, are just right. They're just hard enough to figure out, but they still have the adventurous and the platforming spirit about them. They're not going to soft lock you or anything like that. And so, great level. 17, great level in the game. But this is also the end of the game, and so you have the final little scene here. It says the curse is over, you're getting ready to ride your camels off into the sunset, finish the game up, and then you have these awesome little credits scene here. But it looks like almost to me like a 9 Inch Nails video. Has like, you know, a little mummy pixelated in the background, has the font coming in, sort of the horror looking font. It's a cool little credit scene at the end. But that only lasts for like some of the credits, and then I guess everybody who's like a lesser worker on the game just sort of scrolls up with the normal credits. Sort of a lame scene, like they should have animated everybody, but regardless, you get sort of a lame cutscene after that, and that's the close of the game. So let's look at the game as an overall here. Now, this game, there were times in it where I absolutely hated this game. Some of the puzzles took me so many tries to work through. Say, I felt like I kept getting locked inside the puzzles, restart the level, locked inside the puzzle, restart the level. Just many infuriating moments in the game. But there were also levels where the difficulty was like just right, and those levels were actually a good bit of fun. Like I said, the last level in the game, a ton of fun. Some of the earlier levels in the game, once you figure out the mechanics, a good bit of fun. And so I would say like the number of levels of good versus bad, I'd say it's probably 50-50. Half the game, pretty darn fun. Half the game, absolutely miserable. And so it's going to equal out to be a pretty medium score here. I'd say if I was going to give this game like out of 5 stars, I'd probably say like 2.5. I mean, like smack dab in the middle. The graphics in the game, like I said, most of the characters tend to line up pretty well. The music in the game, it may line with the soundtrack, I don't know. But the music, it got pretty repetitive as the game went on. And I actually ended up turning the volume off on the TV simply because I got tired of hearing the same song over and over and over because these levels took me so many tries. I think if like you bought this game back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, I think like this game would be fun if you were just simply taking your time working through it over a matter of like weeks or months. You know, pick it up, play a level, put it away, pick it up, play a level, put it away. I don't think it's going to be fun if you just simply try to blast through the game, which is what I did here. I played through it in probably like 4 or 5 sessions over a week's time span, and that was too much to really enjoy the game. I think if you spaced it out, simply did one puzzle a day, worked through it over a matter of, you know, like 2 or 3 months, I think you could have some fun with it. But if you rush through it like this, you're going to get more annoyed about it. The music's going to get more annoying. The puzzles are going to get more annoying. And you're going to probably end up hating most of the game. Do I wish the game was different? Yes, I still wish the game was more of a platforming game, more of an action game. I don't know, maybe the movie was more puzzle-based than I realized, or more, I guess, sort of mystery-based. But I thought the movie was probably more action, and that's sort of what I wanted out of this game. It was more of an action game. But if you're looking for a puzzle game and you're willing to take your time with it, I think you could have fun with The Mummy, but for the majority of players out there, this game is probably still going to be a pass. But what do you think about the game? Is this one of your all-time favorite games? Do you also get frustrated with the game? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if there's a game you want to see me cover sooner than later, let me know that name of the game in the comments down below as well. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, go out there, find a great game to play. Just simply have a great rest of the day.